All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sunday morning, March 22nd. This is a test. I'm going to put it out there, see how it goes. I'm going to follow my own rules of just do it and figure out as you go. That's what you have to do. But I will give more details in that uh, in Attracting Prosperity 101. So just a little prelude here. My intention is to just share my thoughts and feelings and my observations, which began when I was around conscious observations around 14. So a lot of and I'm just so you know, I'm simultaneously recording the podcast at the same time. The podcast, Ron's Choice is Happiness, Health, and Prosperity. I will do three separate videos, but all the audio will be on the podcast, which I'll share all that if, whoever's interested, because I know not everybody's into weight loss and health management, and not everybody's into building a business. So that's why I'll do the separate videos. But I do want to share, and I'm going to have to figure out how to start each video because I believe there's a power of intention and a power of segment intending, meaning that, like when you pray before you eat, you're intending for the food to be good. When you pray before a football game or a game or whatever, it's there's a lot of correlation with what I believe and what's taught in religion because it coincides. It's all the same. It's just a different perspective. So I I need to set the intention for this segment each time. I can't, going forward, I'm not going to be able to repeat everything. Uh, and putting that all together, that's one of the things that has kept me from going forward because, I follow a lot of people, I follow a lot of teachers, a lot of audiobooks, a lot of books that I read, and it depends on where you start. You start reading something that someone has been produced, after 20 years, but then when you read their stuff in the beginning, you get a whole different view. So I just you'll find me at this point, and you'll do your research on me if you want and see where I came from, the things I used to say, and they may change. The other thing is I oftentimes worry about offending someone, but you know what? What I've learned is because of the fact I know everybody has different opinions, and I respect everyone's opinions. I do not try to argue or debate or convince. Therefore, that leaves me quiet a lot. I've been that way my whole life because I've been an observer. And if you're engaged in talking, that's why they say God gave you two ears and one mouth, so you can listen more than you talk. If I'm talking, I can't observe. So I usually typically don't give my opinion unless it's asked for, and then I double check because most people have to go through their own paths. Everything overall, to me, there's no right or wrong. Depending on what you want the outcome to be, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, you're not right, you're not wrong. It just is what it is, and it will be, but it's not what it's going to be, depending on what. Hey, here's another analogy. The whole do you see the glass half full or half empty? It's supposed to indicate whether someone's positive or negative. I've always looked at it that it's relative. It's like, what is the goal? What's the purpose? If it was a full glass and I'm drinking it, then it's half empty because that's the direction it's going. Now, if I'm pouring you a glass and I stop, to me it's half full. So, it's everything is relative. So, with that being said, And I obviously can't make this long of an introduction each time. I'm just going to say, and I, at this point, the coronavirus is going on. So it's tough to use that in it as an example because it's global, but it is a good example of uh, group consciousness. So everything that happens was created by us. So we can create things in our world, and as a group consciousness, we create things. So if enough people think about things, if you think about it, it looks like there's a cycle, right? There's every 10 years or so something happens. Well, if we get conditioned to that and enough people think, well, every 10 years something's going to happen. If enough people believe it, then something has to happen. Life has to give you that to make it true. And as individuals, if we want to find truth in something, if we want to believe something strong enough, we'll find evidence. It's just that's how it works. It's scientifically and religiously proven. It's just all around you. You'll have to do your own research on that, but that's what I've observed to be absolutely true, 100%. So just to share, and again, this is just a test as I've been messing with the lighting, how to record, and how to get these two things to do the podcast at the same time, and a video because I watch videos and I enjoy them, but I like to be entertained somewhat. So I'm trying to provide that as well, some type of entertainment. Just to give you, if you're reading, uh, I love quotes, I love anagrams, but I take them for a grain of salt, and because they can be helpful in the instant, and sometimes you can use them long term. I call it an anchor. So if you get stuck, if you're having a bad day, if you have an anagram of something that you can think of an anchor to get you out of it. And a lot of us ask and wonder, many of us, why are we here? What's the purpose? And I've been asking that for many years, have observed of a lot of religions, a lot of people, a lot of thoughts, and uh, this is just what I've compiled that makes sense to me. That's why it's Ron's choice. I'm sure, just like anything else, you'll agree with some of it you may not agree with. But these are the things that I've come up with so I can, if I get out of whack or if I'm feeling off or I need to get back on track, these are certain things that I can think of and that help me get through situations and to stay in a good place and to achieve the things I want to achieve because I think that's why we're all here. We all come here to this planet to be, do, and have good, bad, or indifferent, because truth is only relative to the observer. Uh, and I'll get into depth in that later. But and everything, all of the gurus that I listen to, there's always scripture that backs it up. I see it. I always see a correlation constantly. I saw a preacher this morning. The things he was saying would resonate with someone that goes to church regularly, and it resonated with me as well, but not in the same aspect because there's some. I believe we're fully responsible for everything. I think all of us are up. We are God. We come from. Uh-oh. Uh, we are created in God's image, and we are made of what the creator of worlds. So I think we have a free will because the conscious mind wants to experience life through us. And that's why you see so many creative things. There's just so many different things going on that it's just that's how it is. So for me, life, I broke it down. Life is living intentionally focused with expectation. So living, you go out and you intentionally do things intentionally on purpose, focused with a clear mindset, with the expectation of results with whatever you're doing, whether you're trying to find a mate, whether you're trying to find a job, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking about uh, you know uh, being rich or being whatever. It could be maybe you came here to this planet to be the perfect mom and raise perfect kids, and that was your goal, and to be a perfect wife, and that's your life's purpose. That's what you came here for. We all have a story. uh, the other thing uh, that life equals change equals challenge equals growth, which equals life, and that's the circle of life to me, because everyday things change, right? And that's a challenge for most of us. Change is a challenge. We need to embrace change because change equals challenge. And whenever you take on a challenge and you overcome it, you grow from it. And growing equals life. If you're not growing, you're dying. If a plant or a tree is not growing, if it doesn't have life, it's dying. So that goes in a circle. So I was like, okay, that's great. I came up with that years ago. Uh, But I was like, well, what does that really mean to me? How can I apply that? Because, it made sense to me. Well, the other thing that made sense to me that I got with a group, an online group that I used to be in, marketing group, uh, you, you, and I added the goal part. You set a goal, you make a plan, you take action, you get results, you check your results, you make adjustments, and then, if you have to make a new goal or whatever, you make some adjustments. You adjust your plan, take more action, and that's just like life. Life is the goal, the overall, whatever your life is to be, that's your goal. Change is your plan. Your plan is to change what you're doing, right? So that's a plan. You have a plan of action. The action is the challenge part. When you take action, there's going to be challenges, whatever you do. And I'm going to share. It's my tracking prosperity 101. That video, which if you listen to the podcast, that'll be at the end. I'm going to share all the challenges that I've had trying to get this business going, and some of my successes and failures and whatnot. So I'll be more specific with that. Just life in general has challenges, right? If you want a partner, for example, and that's, to me, happiness is relationships. First of all, it's a relationship with yourself, and having a relationship with yourself is having a relationship with God, your creator, the universe, whatever you want to call it. In general, I'm going to use the word life to cover all that. Uh, God, to me, and many people insinuate that there's a being that's in control of everything. New age thinkers you say the universe, because we're all energy. We're all created of the same thing. We all come from the same thing. We're all part of it, and we're all one. That's where the saying "I am" in the Bible, I am that I am. And I heard something interesting. If you say I am that, comma, I am, and that applies to everything. Whatever, if I look at you, I am that I am. I am part of you. We are the same, basically. We come from the same stuff. But we're here on this planet to be doing have different things. So happiness is relationship. So if you're trying to get a relationship, why does this keep doing that? All right. So here you get to experience some of my issues. All right. So that stopped recording. All right, that just went to. All right, so podcast isn't going to work. We'll continue with the video. So again, happiness. The first part is because I tried to define that. I guess I can give you the backstory. Ron's Choice came from me trying to build a business, and I had to get an LLC to start that business. And I was like, well, what do I name it? I named it Ron's Choice because whatever I do, it's my choice, right? So I got happiness, health, and prosperity from the Optimist Creed. I promised myself to speak, and he says it a little bit differently, but I promised myself to speak happiness, health, and prosperity to every person I meet. And I'm like, those are the three main things in life, in, in my opinion. So, what does happiness mean? You hear these things. Happiness is a choice. Choose to be happy. Okay, it takes work, right? It's a challenge. It's a change from where you're at. If you're not happy and you want to get happy, then you have to make a change. And then there's a challenge of doing that. How do I do that? What does that mean? What does it look like? Uh, so, and I've seen some people say some of those things. Take this time with the coronavirus going around to do some self-reflection, get to know yourself, and there. It takes work. It takes awareness, and that's something I need to add because that's really, really, really important. Is being aware of your surroundings, aware of yourself. Just being alone is not that doesn't always count. You can be alone and just watch TV all the time and just not even think about anything. That's not that's not when people say it's good to be alone and get to know yourself. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean just be alone. No, it doesn't mean just be isolated. You have to take the time to really ask yourself the deep questions. You have to do research. That's why now is such an incredible time that we live with. We have access to so much information, with YouTube and Google and all these things to learn. There's so much out there in the world. I learned something new and I come across somebody new on a regular basis to learn stuff from. I'm like, wow. And it's good because sometimes I learn stuff new and sometimes they confirm what someone else has said. Maybe they say it in a different way. So it's you have to really do some internal work. Like what bothers me, what things trigger me, what things make me happy. How can I control that? How can I maintain a happy state? I've struggled with this for years myself with a little bit of depression and if is the bad things that happen in the world and being happy and uh, it's there's an art of selfishness. You have to take care of you. It's just like the saying with when you're on an airplane, when the oxygen mask comes down, put it on yourself first because you're not any good to anybody else. So if there's things that trigger you, you have to be aware of that. You have to know that, oh my God, I'm getting upset. I'm getting tense. I'm getting stressed. Why is that? Is it rational? I mean, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be angry. Those are useful emotions in the right situations. So you have to, you're getting to know yourself. What else is there? Whether there's a lockdown or not, what else is there in life but to get to know yourself, right? Why you do things the way you do. What are you wanting to accomplish out of life? Well, for most of us, it's being one of the main things is being in a relationship, right? Being in a partnership. So you have to know yourself. You have to be aware of yourself before you can give yourself to someone else. You have to know what you want, what you expect, what you have to give, and it takes a constant awareness. So I got to figure out how to fix that. So being aware and having a happy relationship with yourself first, and when I say self, to me that includes God, your creator, and whatnot, because it's the same thing. You're the same. You're all in the one. Um, that's like where Jesus says the pathway to heaven is through me. Uh, I take that because the Bible was uh, translated and then interpreted, and translated and interpreted at the same time. So what I've come to understand from a lot of people is that a lot of the things where he was saying I and you, he was meaning you, I, meaning me. So when uh, certain religions say the pathway to heaven is through Jesus, where he says the pathway to heaven is through me, he meant through yourself. So heaven resides within you. And uh, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's taking responsibility. So, and then there's a whole lot of that in the Bible, taking responsibility. But so you have to have that good relationship for, and it's a constant thing. It's not fixed like that. It's not, and this is where that saying, it's enjoy the journey, not the destination. That's that's what this is. It's a journey, you know. There's one guru that I follow. He says, if the destination is heaven, is getting to heaven, then why not just go? Well, because you came here for a purpose, so you have to figure that purpose out. And each day, I've tried very hard to come to some concrete, absolute evidence and absolutes for myself. And as I come to some, then I try to move on to others, and everything's flexible. That's why I have the yin yang, because there's always two sides to everything. That's one of the things that I've learned for the most part. That's almost always true. So this is going a little bit longer than I wanted. So happiness starts with you. So that's as far as this goes, that's my main purpose of sharing is how to be happy yourself. And I'll just use examples of what's going on each day, things I see uh, that I can tell that uh, people aren't happy, or they're disturbed by things, or they're anxious, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for all of it, and ultimately you have the control. And ultimately, that's, I mean, again, this is just my observations. It's Ron's choice, and if it helps you, great. So again, I just want to remind you, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I don't get into debates or arguments. If you say that's how you feel, then I'm gonna be like, okay, that's the way you feel. I have close friends and family members that they have a complete opposite view of the way I do, and I don't try to convince them of anything. This is hell on earth. Everything is terrible. Blah blah blah. And I see evidence of that being their reality. And all I can do is just be me and uh, share that with with the world. So I don't mind questions and debate and uh, whatnot, but it all comes down to you. You have the control. If you really want something bad enough, if you focus on it, I'm huge on the meditation. You will find those answers, and they will come to you. You just have to be open to them. But we'll get into that another day. Um, so that's going to conclude today's video. I hope everybody's safe. I hope you're happy. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.